Hi everyone, it's Karen here. Welcome to another video with me. And today I'm going to share with you how I created this spooky little tag. Yes, there's a bit of glitter there and I'll show you how we get that sparkle. So this week marks the start of Halloween. The end of this week we've got the Halaganza with Lavinia stamps. I'm going to be at the open day, so I'm looking forward to meeting those of you who are joining us. But for now, our tag. We're using Willow Witch and Fairy Web, and I've got a Distress Oxide background in various purples and blues. The size tag that I'm using is 6.5 centimetres by 12.5 centimetres, and then I've just snipped the corners at 1 centimetre in and 1 centimetre down, and just snipped it at an angle. So here we go. The colours that we're going to be using. Blueprint Sketch was a firm favourite of mine, Wilted Violet and Seedless Preserves. We've got my spritzy bottle, we've got some stickles for the glitter on our web, because often when you have a spider's web you do get that little glistening. So I'll show you how we do that. And then I've just got a charcoal pen to ground these two images. So here we go. We're going to start with Wilted Violet, and you're going to just smush some onto your mat like that. Spritz it with a tiny bit of water, and then just pick up the colour in various places. That's step one. We're going to heat it, and then I'm going to repeat. Now, the reason that I dry it between the heatings is because wet on dry layers, and if you put wet on wet, it just smushes. Sometimes we need a smush. That's a technical term, you know. But in this case, we want layers. So that bit's dry. I'm going to go in again. Each time you do this, you are going to get a different effect. Right. I'm happy with that for now. It's fine if you've got bits of white throughout the tag. And I'm going to dry it again. I turn it over so that, because the card curls a bit, so by turning it over it kind of flattens it a little, not completely, but there we go. Now I'm going to take Blueprint Sketch. Again, smush a tiny bit onto my mat. Distress inks would work just as well with this. And I'm going to smush the blue. You can see what I'm doing is I'm taking my finger and I'm just pressing it in particular area, not splatting the whole thing down, because otherwise you'll just get a complete coverage. So I've just pressed it around the edge, and I'm going to heat that. I think that's enough blue. I kept it on my mat just in case I wanted to do it again. And then I'm going to go in with the third colour, which is Seedless Preserve. This is a much deeper purple, sort of almost a mahogany there. But again, with my finger, I'm just going to put a tiny bit of this colour in various parts of the tag. And you can see it's really coming together. There you go. I think that's a great spooky look for our tag. So heat it one more time. Fabulous. Now you just want to make sure that your tag is completely dry before we do the stamping. The first thing that I'm going to do is stamp Willow Witch. Now I'm going to use my stamping platform this time. I don't usually, but because I've got a few layers on this tag and it's a bit rough and she's such a detailed stamp, I just am going to use my platform. And I'm going to set her, as you can see here, I'm going to set her just so that the bottom of her cloak is touching the left-hand side of this tag. That'll give us enough space to put in our cauldron and our fabulous fairy web. So always, just as when I'm inking on my acrylic block, I will do this tap, tap, tap motion. That way you get a good coverage of the ink. And we're just going to pop her down, making sure that we've got a good... And you can see what I meant about, because we've got so many layers on the background, it kind of absorbs some of the ink from the stamp. So I'm just going to repeat that so that we get a good solid Willow the Witch on our tag. There we have it. Fabulous. Then I'm going to take my cauldron. Again, I'm inking these up with VersaFine Clair Nocturne. That always gives me a good, solid, crisp image. And I'm just going to pop that cauldron in front of her on the ground. Then we're going to take Fairy Web. So yes, I do hope you're going to join us this weekend. There are 4 days of online videos, etc. My videos will show Thursday at 11 and Sunday at 1. I do hope you'll join me. So we're just going to place this fairy web on the right-hand side of this tag. Fabulous. So this background, you can do this background for all sorts of different stamps. Okay, so then we're going to create the blend around the edge, ground it, and then put our stickles onto the fairy web. I'm going to use 2 colours for the blending around the edge. I'm going to use purple and black. And I'm going to pick up my Wilted Violet first. Probably put a bit too much on there. And I'm using a piece of acetate here. I used to use a piece of copy paper, and then I thought, you know what a great idea it is to use a piece of acetate, because then I don't waste so much paper and I can just wipe it clean. So to go around the edge, I'm just circular motion. I'm just going to bring this in around my tag. And then I'm going to do the same with the black. Black soot. Black soot will give me a nice edge. So I'm not going as far in as I did with my Wilted Violet. That just gives it a sort of a dark, spooky kind of look. And then to get us a bit of extra texture around the edge, I'm going to put some spritzy bottle, water splatters actually. I'm not going to put... So you can see I just spritzed a tiny bit of water into my hand, clapped the first large dollop off, and then I'm going to pop it all the way around the edge of my tag. So that where I just blended will land up having some texture in it. Right, I'm going to clean my mat, dry it off. Then I'm going to take my Inktense pencil and just make sure there's a bit of shading underneath Willow and underneath the Cauldron. You can see I'm not being too careful there because shadows are often a bit distorted, aren't they? So fabulous. Now, you can either do some stars coming up from a Cauldron, or I've used the mini dots. And I'm just going to put a couple of those coming up from her Cauldron. And then finally, well, not finally, because we're going to put some ribbons on it, but I'm going to take my stickles, press a tiny bit out. Now, for this particular one, you want to definitely make sure that you've got a size, got a feel in your hands of how much pressure you need to apply, because we're not going to do this very solidly. So it's going to be, I'm going really quickly down the lines of this stamp, right to the edge. And if it doesn't come out fully all the way, that's fine, because you know when you have a spider's web, if you've ever looked at them, they sort of sparkle, and they don't sparkle all the way down each line. So I'm going very quickly down each of the strands of her web, and then I'm just going to go one quick strand along here. Now when it dries, you won't see the specific lines, so don't think that you are going to get it wrong. Okay, and then the last thing that we'll do, and I'll only do it when that's dry, the last thing that I'll do is punch a hole in the top and thread my ribbons through. So there we have it, a quick tag for this Halloween week. Thanks so much for joining me. I'd love to see what you make, and I'll be back again very soon. Bye for now.